Welcome. GOATED NBA News, the podcast, episode 2. We are recording this on a Thursday, but it will be airing on a Friday. So please forgive me if I reference what we're about to be talking about, the bombshell, if I say that it happened yesterday when it really happened 2 days ago. And that bombshell that I am talking about is the firing of the president of basketball operations for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Gerson Rosas. So I know we already saw Karl Anthony Towns. He tweeted ... WTF ? And that happened like right before the news actually broke. So I really liked that tweet. I think I tweeted something like, "Oh, that's Cat looking at his defensive statistics from last season." But actually what happened was allegedly, reported by Mike Max of CBS Minnesota, there was an inappropriate relationship between Gerson Rosas and a Timberwolves staff official, and both of those people were abruptly fired yesterday. So I have the whole situation red flagged. Apparently what happened was that Gerson Rosas, he was caught cheating with that staffer, and they were photographed at a Minnesota United FC. If you don't know, that's the Minnesota soccer team, their MLS team. They were photographed in a skybox together, kissing during a game, which I don't know, man. Okay, I'm not going to say much else on that aspect of this, but I don't know, man. That's kind of a dumb move. Rosas' firing came after just a few days after that situation was made known to the team executives. Also reported was the fact that this move did not necessarily come from the Timberwolves' current management, their current owners. It actually came from, in part, from the new management group that hasn't actually taken over the team yet. So let's remember that a management group associated with Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lore is scheduled to take over the Minnesota Timberwolves in 2023, but they haven't actually taken over the team yet. But they were the ones who handed down that they wanted him gone. Whether or not they're the person with the final say, are they running the Timberwolves right now? Is that what's going on? I have that whole situation red flag. That's just not what you want from a team. You can't have two different management groups running the same franchise. You have to have an actual singular management chain. It kind of sounds like a singular management change is what Gerson Rosas wanted. It's what Gerson Rosas had. I understand that he had an affair, but I actually liked a lot of his moves and a lot of the things he did. And I don't know. I wish that he was still around running the Timberwolves. Part of what happened, so it's great, right? There's multiple things coming out that these are the reasons why Gerson Rosas was fired. I think it sounds like the whole affair thing, the whole staffer thing, that was like more of the tipping point for Gerson Rosas, because there were also reports coming out of the Timberwolves camp yesterday that he was alienating everyone else, all of the other executives on the running the team, running the front office. Apparently, he wasn't taking the advice of a lot of the Timberwolves senior executive front office people, and that instead, he was making a lot of the moves himself. I would like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that we are talking about the Timberwolves front office. So if Gerson Rosas isn't taking the advice of Timberwolves management, that's probably a pretty good idea, because they're the Timberwolves. I don't know. Crazy. I actually really liked a lot of Gerson Rosas' moves from a general manager, president of basketball operations point of view. it's great to look at these moves in hindsight, but I just want to remind people about what we really thought when these moves actually went down. The first one is that Gerson Rosas. So Gerson, by the way, let's keep his career timeline. His career timeline. He only spent 2 years with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was hired May 1st of 2019, and he was fired yesterday or on Wednesday. That is September 22nd. So really not that long with the team. And he made a lot of nice moves. He made a lot of actually good restructuring moves. His first being D'Lo for Andrew Wiggins and a first. Let's think. Remember that D'Angelo Russell was a star guard in Brooklyn, and he was a star guard for his short amount of time in Golden State. And while the fit around Karl Anthony Towns was not something that people put into the positives category of this trade, getting Andrew Wiggins off of their basketball team, which was clearly a very poor situation that Gerson Rosas inherited and decided that he had to fix, I like that move. And it cost them a first-round pick, but that's what happens when you sign a nice but relatively middling wing player to a max contract. And in return, you get a max player who actually has the possibility of being a max player. So I like that move. He also drafted Anthony Edwards. And let's remember, again, people, that this was the draft where the top three were James Wiseman, LaMelo Ball, and Anthony Edwards. LaMelo Ball was not LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball was, I don't know, he just played in the Lithuanian and Australian league, LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball was he might be a lot of social media hype, LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball was the LeVar Ball situation looks pretty scary. I don't know if that's something I'd want to risk on a number 1 overall pick, LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball was not Rookie of the Year LaMelo Ball. James Wiseman was a great center, was a 5-star prospect who played like 3 games in college. He played the last basketball that he played before the NBA draft was in high school against high schoolers. But he was still the number 2 overall pick to the Warriors, and I think the Warriors would have been dead set on him no matter what. LaMelo Ball was the number 3 overall pick. I mean, okay, you can't really blame him. Number 3 overall pick out of these top 3 players, sure. You just get what you can. But taking Anthony Edwards at the number 1 pick, I did not like that move at the time. I thought it should have been LaMelo. I was saying screw the hype. But from a risk point of view, when you just busted on Andrew Wiggins, you cannot risk that doing the same thing for your fan base. So he took Anthony Edwards, and Anthony Edwards had a really nice season last year. So that's a W from a pick perspective. He also made a multi-team deal to get Robert Covington off the team in what I think is one of the more under-the-radar picks. But it was one of those picks that's very telling, and here's why. Clearly, he thinks that Karl Anthony Towns, their star player on the Minnesota Timberwolves, is not a number 1 option, best player on a championship team caliber player. I agree with this evaluation from Gerson Rosas, but this move for Robert Covington tells you that he thinks this way. He essentially, Robert Covington is a win-now player. Getting him off the team, getting his contract off the team was important not only in the whole D'Lo situation, but he also got Jaden McDaniels and Leandro Bolmera, which were, before they were on the Timberwolves, they were seen as good role players. Whether you see them as good role players or now, I know that there is some sort of discretion between fans at this point. what can I say? But at the time, this was seen as a move that could actually really benefit the Timberwolves, and it was great for salaries. I don't know if Cat really is or isn't the number one option on a championship team, but what I will respect from a president of basketball operations point of view is leaning in to your opinion, leaning in to your evaluations, and deciding that your evaluations are going to be the ones we're basing these decisions off of. I'm not saying Cat sucks, but he's probably just not going to be their number one guy. Or if he is, it's not going to be your typical number one option, number two option situation. He's going to have to be paired with another superstar. And instead of getting a bunch of role players to surround Cat with, he actually went out and gave the Timberwolves two chances at co-stars to put next to Cat. And that is D'Lo and that is Anthony Edwards. Whether or not those moves pan out, we'll have to see. But props to Gerson Rosas because he actually got the Timberwolves in a pretty nice situation. I think that they're going to be actually a pretty good team next year. Not pretty good as in play-in team next year, which is insane by Timberwolves standards. Right now, we have a situation where if Karl Anthony Towns leaves the Timberwolves fans might be cheering for him to leave. They might be cheering for him for the next team that he goes to. It'll be like a Kevin Garnett's to the Celtics situation, where Timberwolves fans are happy that Kevin Garnett finally gets a ring, whether it's on the Timberwolves or not. At the end of the day, all this means is that Gerson Rosas, he had a really good idea of where his team was and where they needed to be to elevate themselves. He was just hired in 2019, and 6 months after that whole Jimmy Butler situation and the Tom Thibodeau firing happened, I think 4 months before he was hired. So he inherited a mess. It would have been great. It would have been awesome to see a Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns combo reach the playoffs. They had some nice role players, Covington, Jared Bayless, Dario Saric. But Rosas saw what they had and realized that it wasn't enough. And sometimes in team building, in sports, that's the most important step. Seeing what you have, being honest with what you have, and then moving forward from that. Not lying to yourself and telling yourself that you have a contender when you really don't. It's unfortunate that the Timberwolves are going to move off of Gerson Rosas. I think that he was doing a great job. Part of these are circumstances that he himself put himself in. So I'm not going to say that the Timberwolves are making a bad decision here, but they're going to have to find someone to fill Rosas' shoes. And I hope that they do, because this is something, I mean, come on. I think he was doing a great job. God, do we have to talk about Ben Simmons? Here's what I wrote for the Ben Simmons segment, because of course there was more news about Ben Simmons. I wrote, Ben, you suck. I hate you. Literally no one cares anymore about your career, and there are literally zero people who are taking your side. What the fuck, in all caps. Oh, I actually wrote more. I'm sorry. You play like a high schooler with no talent, with all talent, no skill. How are you so fervent in your demands to leave the team, and how could you not be fucked to actually be aggressive in the game, yet so aggressive to leave the team? Wow, there's more. Who would want a player with such an aggressively awful attitude off the court? There's no GM that's thinking they can build a winning culture around Ben Simmons. So yesterday it came out that the owner of the Warriors, co-owner of the Warriors, Joe Lacob, he was fined $50,000 for tampering related to Ben Simmons. The ironic part is that he actually wrote or actually said to a writer that he did not want Ben Simmons. That's why he was tampered. He was fined for tampering for saying that he didn't want a player. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. He had some comments. There's some concern about his fit with Ben Simmons and Draymond Green kind of filling that same playmaker forward type role. I agree, but I also disagree in that I think Draymond Green is clearly the better player. I mean, Ben Simmons is maybe he's more athletic, maybe he's more talented, but I don't think he's actually the better player at this point in time. You can't replace a basketball IQ like Draymond Green, and the Warriors would not want to replace a guy like Draymond Green or even like minimize his role to fit around Ben Simmons. If Ben Simmons were to come to the Warriors, it would be Draymond Green suffering the most. Also, the flexibility that Draymond Green gives the Warriors by playing in the center position, Ben Simmons is not going to be able to replicate that. So, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I think the fines kind of came, the biggest part came was because Joe Lacob actually went to a reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle and talked about salaries with the guy from the SF Chronicle. I don't know how you can do that, but yeah, so that's the news in the Ben Simmons situation. God, I can't wait for the regular season to start so we can stop talking about Ben Simmons. Does it even feel like Ben Simmons is going to be moved right now? Because for me, I just don't see it. I don't see him moving. I don't see him actually changing teams. It's impossible. Like, where would he go? He might just sit out. I just see him sitting out, and then. So it broke yesterday that people inside the Pelicans organization have started calling their general manager, David Griffin, who is, by the way, the guy who is responsible for all of these head coaching hires and for Devontae Graham coming to the team. Yeah. And Steven Adams, that Steven Adams move, and for Kyra Lewis Jr. now being their backup point guard. The guy responsible for that, David Griffin, is now being called Griff Krause. So that's Jerry Krause, Griff Krause. All right. It's a shitty nickname. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. But it was also leaked earlier last season that Zion's family wanted Zion out of the Pelicans. He wanted them out of New Orleans. And so we don't officially know if this is still the case, but, you know, leaks like this don't exactly happen by accident. They happen on purpose. Zion is making only $10 million a year right now, but he'll be eligible for an extension of up to 5 years, $181 million this season. So that'll keep him with the Pelicans until 2027. That's also much more than he could make on any other team. That's how rookie deals are structured. They try to keep you for the first 7 years if they can, so they can give you a max contract. And he can make a lot more money with the Pelicans than he can with any other team. Pretty much no rookies players that were drafted with their original team, they pretty much always sign a max if that's what's offered to them. And because this whole structure is designed to incentivize players to, you know, stay on the team that drafted them and stay with the hometown. It's supposed to help these small market teams. New Orleans is a small market considered, or a medium small market, by the way. My question is, I don't know if Zion's actually going to take that extension. It's incentivized for him to stay there. It makes a lot of sense for him to stay there. But Zion has more star power than the rest of the New Orleans Pelicans combined. Zion is Zion. Zion was on the cover of 2K his second year in the league after playing just 24 games. Are we sure that he's going to take that extension? My question to you is, yes, Zion won't make any more money on another team. He won't make more money on another team than if he was playing for the Pelicans. But can he make up that money through endorsements, through sponsorship deals? Because Zion is Zion. So I actually looked into it. He is right now making 7 years. So he's locked into a contract for 7 years, making $75 million from Jordan Brand. And, actually, one source said that the deal was 5 years and one said 7. So I put 7. So 5 to 7 years, $75 million from Jordan Brand. He also has a deal with Gatorade, which is undisclosed. He has other deals already from Mountain Dew, Fanatics, which is a memorabilia / collectibles merchandising thing, and Panini, which is a trading card / comic book company from Italy. And apparently on draft day, he got a free Mercedes-Benz from Mercedes-Benz just to say that he is a Mercedes-Benz and brand ambassador. So yeah, he can get endorsements whenever. He has only gotten more famous since entering the league. Zion is Zion, right? Let's not forget this. So right now, here are his options for leaving the Pelicans, taking less money, and still being Zion. He could request a trade right now, or he could wait until the end of the season, this season, and become a restricted free agent. The Pelicans would be able to then match any offer, but he could actually set it up so that he gets a qualifying offer for a lower amount for a 1-year deal with the Pelicans, and then becoming an unrestricted free agent in 2024. And then he could just be out and then make as much money as he can out from the Pelicans as soon as 2024. So yes, I know 2021 right now. So that's 3 years. So that's what I'm saying. Just watch the Pelicans organization this year with a really close eye. I think you'll see a lot of little inklings, a lot of little nuggets. Maybe Zion says something in an interview about how he's mad. Maybe Zion's uncle or brother or father says something to the media that makes a lot of sense or lines up in a certain way in this way. Either he's got a 3-year plan to hit unrestricted free agency, or he requests a trade and sits up now and just starts some drama. This would not be a first for the Pelicans organization that just got punched in the mouth by Anthony Davis. So we could really see it happening. Yeah, they have new front office head figures, new front office people, but it's the same culture in New Orleans. It's the same pattern of dysfunction. Apparently, before all of this whole family stuff with Zion, before they had the number 1 overall pick, before all this stuff, when they had Anthony Davis, it started the same way. Anthony Davis's father came out and said that he didn't like how the Pelicans were run, that he thought it was a messy organization. And now we're seeing literally Zion's family come out and say the exact same thing. So I'm sorry, Pelicans fans. I know you want to see Zion. I know you want to keep him on your team. Let's just hold on to that real quick. Let's just put a pin on that. Maybe Zion is Zion, and maybe Zion goes elsewhere. We'll see. Other than that, this has been the GOATED NBA News Podcast. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And I'll be back with you next week with a special guest. The GOAT approves.